Hi, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Like, Share, Follow. And this week I have the amazing Bronte Cresswell, who is the director of Dash of Milk Agency here on the Sunshine Coast. And I taught Bronte just a little bit when she was at uni, but she was well through towards the end of her degree by the time I arrived here. And so Bronte was already working in the field when I arrived on the scene and while she was still studying. And then she graduated and set up her own agency, which is doing amazingly well. So I've seen you around the Sunshine Coast since you graduated, but tell me what happened from the time that you left USC to now. Can you hear me okay, Bronte?
Yeah, social media a little bit and sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, there was a bit of a lag, but I think it's okay now.
Okay, sure. So while I was at university, I was working in the field a little bit, which was a role that I just sort of fell into, but ended up being a really, really amazing opportunity for me to test out the sort of social media space and see the way that I could work at a brand. So when I did finish my degree, I was doing public relations, and because I realized that I really loved social media and that side of the industry, I went and worked for a digital marketing agency on the Sunshine Coast, which was awesome, and I learned so much there. And after doing that for a year, I just decided to just see if I could start something myself, which was really scary, but it just felt right at the time, and I just thought, I'm just going to see if I can do it. So I launched She the Social, which was just a little freelancing brand where I was working with small businesses just to manage their social media accounts, so mostly Instagram and Facebook. And then that literally just built up a little bit as well. And I think in about 6 months of having that, I was literally just doing that from my kitchen table. I ended up hiring my first staff member, who was Steph. And then from there, we built Dash of Milk Agency.
Yeah, and now, I'm pleased to say that you take on USC social media interns as well, so you're sort of giving back in that respect as well. And so, what's been some of the best career advice you've been given? Because as you say, it is quite scary to go out on your own and start something. So, what was some advice that really helped you to do that?
Absolutely. Honestly, I think that really something that sits in my mind is if you start to get lazy with your ambition, it's going to take you twice as long to get where you want to get with it. And that is something that, like, just that as a concept, not that sentence particularly, but just when I do start to think like, I might just pull back or get a little bit lazy in these areas, I really do think about, okay, but what is it that I actually want in life? And like, will I what excites me, and it really is building up this brand and taking the businesses that we work with, where we want to take them with their marketing. And so just focusing on that and really kind of getting down to the nitty gritty of why I want to accomplish those things, that's what really inspires me and sort of empowers me when I'm sort of trying to push myself. So really just kind of bringing my mind back to that.
Right, and so you said you did get a job first in an agency when you first left university. So what do you think set you apart from other graduates in getting that role?
Yeah, firstly, obviously getting a little bit of experience before I graduated uni was massive, because it meant that I was not only going to the business with a degree, but I could also say to them, these are the areas I've got experience in. So this is what I can actually help in right now, and really focusing on what I knew that I could offer at the time and what I wanted to learn from them, and what I knew, if they gave me the time and the resources to learn, that I could really offer. So focusing on that when I was talking to them. But to be honest, when I went to that agency, I offered my time for free. I remember it was probably November, and I thought, okay, they're an agency, they're going to be really busy leading up to Christmas. So I just threw myself at them, and I was like, hey, I'm a uni student. I know, you're probably crazy busy. You don't have much time to give me. So just any task you want to throw my way, I'll just come into the office. You don't even need to think about me. I'll just, mirror whatever you sort of need me to do and jump in on meetings and take notes. And from that, I literally ended up being a project manager with them. They didn't have a role at the time, but I literally was like, here's what I know I can offer you. So if you just want to let me do that, I'll do it. So that worked quite well.
That's great. And so how long was that period of time when you worked for them before you actually decided to start your own and get stuck into it?
Yeah, it was a year. So I worked for them for a year, and it was probably just a little bit of career progression, but a little bit more of just me wanting to test myself and see what I could do. So when I did quit, obviously I had a lot of people being like, oh my gosh, you got an agency role straight out of uni. Like, do not quit. That's a terrible idea. But in my head, I was just like, you know what, I'm just going to trial it. If it doesn't work out, the way I saw it was that I would be looking for a job in 6 months' time. And I was like, if I'm looking for a job now or in 6 months' time, what's the real difference? And it really was just that I would have a little bit less money in my savings, and that I would probably feel a little bit stupid for not listening to the people that told me not to. And I was like, you know what, I can actually cop that and take that if that's where it ends up. And luckily for me, it didn't. So it paid off.
Absolutely. And so tell me, what's something at uni that you learned that you found really helpful?
It's actually, I get asked this a lot because obviously the industry that we're in, a lot of people can come into it without uni degrees. So I do get often asked like what I think the value in it is. And definitely there's obviously things such as organization and time management that just come from doing a degree in general. And one of my key things in that sort of space is really understanding that even when you think you are at your like absolute end of the energy and output that you have as a person, that you can actually do more, which is something that, like, it's honestly a thing though. Hey, like when you're at uni, you look at your assignment schedule and you're like, that's impossible, but thank you. And then once you get into it, you realize like, I am actually capable of this. I can push myself enough to get all of that done. And that's something that I do remind myself of as a business owner, because like when I'm at my like end of where I think I can handle, I'm like, you know what, I got through my degree, I can push myself further. But in terms of an actual sort of industry level, definitely appreciate the understanding of the industry and where it has developed from, and some of the core sort of theories that all of the strategies that we implement today, where they've actually been built from. So I really do value that, and I don't think that's just specific to marketing and social media and PR. I think that's most industries. Having that really core understanding is actually really, really valuable. And there's so many times when I am, you know, doing something for a client, and then all of a sudden I'm like, I learned that at uni, I remember that as a theory, and you sort of apply it in. So yeah.
And on the flip side, what is something that you wish you'd learned that when you got out, you're like, oh, now I have to skill up and teach myself this?
Like probably a lot of things just in terms of straight implementation, which is things that I do honestly think you can really only pick up when you're on the job. So USC obviously has some great internship programs as part of the degree, which are so important. But I think the biggest thing for me, and having interns come to us as an agency as well, is taking, you know, what you do in an assignment, which is a 3-month sort of roughly thing where you have all this time to work on it and you go, okay, objectives, and you have all this time to structure that out. You know, we have to do that in 2 weeks. And even that can be pushing it for clients sometimes. So it's just about being able to switch on, not being able to, you know, sit down and go through bit by bit strategy and everything, and just being able to really just pull that out and talk to a client and literally pitch them an idea in the moment. But I think that obviously just comes with experience as well.
Absolutely. And it's really like we've been trying to sort of simulate that or provide much more client work in the courses, particularly the social media courses now. But it is like that speed, like producing things quickly is definitely something that you have to learn when you get out, and when you try and simulate that too. Sometimes I normally get a lot of complaints. It's like, well, you know, this is like, you know, what it's going to be like, you know, a blog post where weeks to write a blog post, you know, you get about it.
So I was just going to say, I think it's valuable to have, you know, and that probably is a perk of university, that learning that from that really structural objectives and their target market, Whereas like, yeah, in the real world, you don't get that opportunity. So I actually think it's really valuable to be able to do that initially so that when you are doing it on the go, it's really strategic and you do have that background understanding before you're just jumping into rushing it.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, you've got to crawl before you can walk, so to speak,
Yeah.
or run when you're out in the workplace. And so tell me too, so what social media thing that you learned in the last couple of weeks, like something new, a hack, something about a platform change that you would like to share with us that you think is amazing?
Yeah, so we, as an agency, have been having a little bit of a look at what the 2021 trends are going to be, and just sort of getting our head around that and how we can apply that to our client account. So the key is snackable content has been coming up a lot, which aligns with a lot of what we're seeing in social media in general. So it's really just content that is really quick and easy to consume. So it's just been an ongoing trend that what you used to be able to communicate in a 3-minute video now has to be communicated in 10 seconds or you're going to lose their attention. And that just comes from them being able to literally flick the thumb the tiniest bit and your content has gone. So if you don't have their attention, you can't get that key message across in that moment, then it's completely gone. So that's definitely, I think that's just going to continue to get shorter and shorter. So that's something that we've been discussing in-house, how we can sort of tie that into our strategies with our clients a lot more. But a fun thing that I have been noticing this week, which I think a lot of people probably are seeing, is the sort of audio-based platforms that are popping up a lot more at the moment as well. So I think that's going to be really interesting to see where that goes this year. So they always are obviously releasing different social platforms, and with a lot of them there is hype that pops up and it's like, this is the new thing, and then you notice it just kind of fizzles out and disappears. But with the audio-based platforms, we are seeing a few of them pop up. So I do think that that is going to be something that will continue to grow this year. And as an agency, we are really keeping an eye on it. So whenever social platforms pop up for us, one of the big keys that we have a look for is their ability to continue to grow and sort of optimize it based on their consumers. It's the ones that are like, here's what we have, and then it just loses that they fizzle away. The products and brands that can sort of release those platforms and then continue to evolve it based on what they're seeing the consumers are looking for, they're the ones that do tend to continue to grow and capture that attention. So we're definitely keeping an eye on the audio platforms at the moment.
Absolutely. So yeah, I'm on Clubhouse, and I've created one room just to have a go, but I haven't. It's hard. I learn a lot. Whenever I go on there, I get some amazing piece of information. I'm not much of a speaker, but I'm more of a listener at this stage. So Are you on there, Clubhouse, Bronte? I'll have to look you up and follow you.
Yeah. No, I'm on there. We've just been playing around and sort of checking the structure, but I think even in terms of an interface, it's definitely it should have some updates coming, because it does seem a little bit amateur and a little bit clunky. But normally, if they've worked that into their strategy, they sort of start it there, and then over the next couple months, they tidy that up, and the format tidies up, and the way that they expand. Obviously, it's invite only really at the moment. They're really out. This is getting the hype behind it. So I am on it, and I am sort of having a play with it. But yeah, we are just really interested to see where they take it from here, because I think that will be the difference between whether it's really successful or it's just another platform that's popped up.
Yeah, absolutely. And talking about that sort of flexibility, you could actually be talking about Dash of Milk, because I've seen where it started as She's Social and then has grown. And so tell me now, like, what does Dash of Milk offer now? How are you different from other agencies? Because I know you do more than just social, like you have education and all sorts of things going on. So just tell me about the growth of your business.
Yeah, definitely. So I started the Social, and it was literally just social media management, so organic, Instagram and Facebook, because I was just doing it myself, and I was like, I know I can offer this to a really high level. And then when we released Dash of Milk, so that was about a year after I started the Social as the brand, we started to get a lot more inquiry because people were with us for their organic social and they were like, this is great. I love the service. I love the standard and the strategy. And then they were starting to say, okay, well, what about paid? Like, can we introduce a Google campaign or can we introduce a Facebook campaign? So we partnered with some contractors in those spaces that really reflected the approach and the strategy that we were using and grew it in that way. And then now, so we have Facebook campaigns, Google campaigns. We do a lot of email marketing because we work with a lot of e-commerce brands, so that's really crucial for them, as well as content creation. So we do a lot of media, like photos and videos for our clients as well. And all of that just comes together as a good like digital strategy to actually accomplish their objectives, because what we found just doing straight management, it was a great branding sort of approach and really good to nurture their current community, but we weren't able to, target sales or leads. So yeah, definitely being able to offer more of a full digital strategy approach now is really effective for us. And then also we have launched the Dash Academy side of the business as well last year. So that's really based on training and online courses and training assets as well.
Excellent. And so tell me, what advice do you have? Because clearly I'm in touch with students a lot, and I try and encourage them, particularly the social media students, to take on freelance clients while they're studying, just so they're still they're gaining practical experience, but they're also earning some dollars in the field while they're studying, because it's a great way to do that. Now, there's nothing wrong with working in retail and things like that, but there's a lot of flexibility with working with social media. You can fit it in around the other responsibilities that you have. But I think there's sometimes a lack of confidence. There's a bit of fear around doing that. Some students feel like they're not ready. What would you say to them to try and encourage them just to take that next step?
Yeah, definitely just jump in and get your experience behind you. If you're feeling really unsure about it, write a list of what you're confident in and what you can do. So even if that's industry based, if you're like, what, I worked in a cafe when I was younger, I know I could do really well for cafe content. So, maybe you target cafes instead of just going, I'm going to manage social media and I don't know enough about it. Or if you're really good at Instagram, for instance, but you're not so familiar with Facebook, and then that should give you a bit of guidance as to where you should put a bit of focus into building up those skills. But in general, I mean, just jump in with it. I know it sounds really cliche, because I remember when I wanted to start a business and people go, just start a business. And you're like, I love that, like, that makes sense. But from where I am right now, that makes no sense. Like, what does that even mean? So yeah, it would just be definitely, if you can get access to one of your friends' business accounts, or you can pitch yourself to someone and say, hey, look, I'll work for free for 3 weeks or a month just to kind of get my head around how this works. Just do that. And if that's your starting place, that's your starting place. And then you can start to build up your confidence and start to build for it. But yeah, definitely just get your head around it. Like, the thing with social media, which we say whenever we do train clients as well, is it's not difficult in terms of, a strong initial organic campaign and approach. It's not crazy difficult. It's literally just about thinking about the strategy and what you're trying to accomplish, who your brand is and who you're targeting, and coming up with content that's going to resonate with them. And if you can optimize that based on posting times and little things like that, then you're doing 1,000 times better than you think you are. And
the other question I have for you is, because the majority of students, this is clearly anecdotal evidence, I haven't done any studies on this, but from my experience working with students, they're really focused, particularly in their final year, about just finding a job when they finish. But the actual thought of starting their own and creating their own job is sometimes not something that they think about or has even entered their head. So what would you say to that idea or that spark in them to even consider starting their own business?
Yeah, it's really definitely think about what you actually want to do with your career, because there are definitely different approaches. There's starting your own, and this is probably very limiting, but from the way I see it, when you do finish this, starting your own brand there's working in-house for a business, and there's working for an agency. And all of those three are completely different. Your day-to-day looks completely different. So I would encourage students to have a look at each of those options and kind of figure out what it is that they actually enjoy doing. Do they enjoy being told, work on this today? Do you enjoy working with a range of brands, or do you prefer to focus on one brand? Or, is starting a brand and going out and getting your own clients, is that something that really interests you, and being able to do it in whatever way you want to do it and develop strategies completely from your own sort of perspective and angle on them. And if that is what it is, then 100% go for it. Like I said, you can just start small. You can start with just, 3 clients in one niche and build that up and get really good at that, and then start to expand that. But it's an amazing industry for the fact that, like you said, it is something that you can build your own brand around. And you can get into quite easily, especially with a social media degree sort of backing you. And then if you can build on that with further experience, I think the biggest things with it is understanding that it is a business. So you will have to do things like, go out and get your own leads and build your own processes. All of that does come into it, but it's definitely really, really rewarding if you can sort of, focus on that and get that sorted.
Absolutely. And also tell me, because I know that you're now doing work with the Chamber of Commerce. So do you want to talk to me a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we've developed the Sunshine Coast Young Chamber of Commerce. So when I was starting out in business, was doing a whole bunch of networking, and that was a really big part of sort of getting myself into different industries, meeting different people, kind of figuring out my direction, which is definitely a tip I would give to social media students. But I definitely found that a lot of the networking that I was doing was definitely sort of more experienced business owners who may have been in their business for like 40 years, for instance, and little me being like, hi, I started my business like a year ago, and I'm like fresh out of uni. I'm talking to them, and they're like, okay, cool, I'm the CEO of a brand that's been around forever, and I've been in the role for 40 years. Definitely recognizing that there's heaps that you can learn from people like that are so experienced and so established, but also recognizing that we really do, want people around us as well that we can really resonate with and be like, you're starting a brand too, or like, oh, you've just started in this new career role, like how are you going with understanding it, or like going for that promotion. And we found that was just really big based on sort of the younger age group. So the Young Chamber of Commerce for the Sunshine Coast is for professionals on the Sunshine Coast under 35. And that is whether they own their own business or they're just career driven within a company. And so we're holding monthly networking events for that, and our membership also includes support and networking opportunities outside of those events as well. So we're really excited for it. We tried to launch about 4 times last year, and COVID every time knocked it back. So we did just have our first event of the year at Your Mate's Brewery last month, and that was a sellout event, so that was really exciting, and we are actually announcing our next event later today. So
Oh, fantastic. And and that's a great place for, students who are about to graduate to go and start to talk to people, because, you're an employer, you have your own business as well. So even just going there and letting people know what the skills are and just starting to get known is a really good idea.
Absolutely. And I think that's one thing as well, like with even intern opportunities at Dash, like we take on interns all the time, and often we don't post about it. We don't say, hey, we're looking for an intern. So as a student, if you're waiting to see those posts or waiting for people to list a role or an intern opportunity, you're already missing the mark, because we get 2 or 3 inquiries every month or so for internships. So we're often going to go with one of those, A, because they've taken the initiative to reach out, and B, because if I've got 9 of them in front of me, why would I advertise for it? So meeting people and sort of getting your foot in the door in that way is really important.
Excellent. And so we're nearly at the end of the interview. So tell me, apart from the great advice you've given already, what other advice would you give to emerging professionals or current students about how they can succeed in their career?
Yeah, looking at like the digital space and the social media space, I would say something that can be really valuable is like obviously get experience. I think that's a big one, and I'm sure that's been said on this 1,000 times before. I would also, in the experience realm, be looking at online resources. There is so many incredible ones. So often when I get students that I just do coffee with when they're coming to graduate from their degree and they just want a little bit of advice. I'd let them know to jump on resources like Facebook Blueprint and Google Digital Garage, because there's so many incredible courses and really up-to-date assets on there that people can learn from. So not just relying on like your uni degree and internships, but also industry level understanding and courses that you can be doing additionally to that. But also using this kind of experience to see if there is a niche of service that you can get into a little bit. So if I get someone who's graduated or an intern even, and they say, I love social media, I love digital marketing, but email marketing is an area that I've really looked into and I really enjoy, and I've got my head around these platforms more specifically, or Facebook advertising is an area that I'm really enjoying, and I've had a look at how to structure campaigns properly and the kind of creative that works within my industry. If you can have a look at a little bit of a specialist area that you really enjoy, that you can expand your knowledge and understanding on outside of just general social media and digital marketing, I think that that's a really, really good selling point.
Excellent. Yeah. And I mean, we try and introduce those as part of the course as well, because there is so much. Like I do them as well, because there's just so, and there's great resources coming up all the time. So yeah, definitely. And I think USC is one of the only Australian universities that's actually part of the Facebook Blueprint classroom program as well. So yeah. So that's, and the most important question of the entire interview is, who do you like, share, and follow?
Amazing. So I had to think about this. Obviously, I'm on social media all the time, so I like, share, and follow 1,000 people. But I wanted to focus more on, so like I kind of spoke to the girls in the agency. We were having a chat about who it is that we do actually enjoy following. And one of the big things that we do follow outside of, like social media gurus and marketing specialists and everything, is we really enjoy following content creators that are taking a slightly different approach and are doing some really fun stuff with it that you wouldn't expect. So obviously in social media, there is a lot of like, a trend will pop up and everyone will do the trend, or there's like a style of content that comes out and everyone does it. So we always keep an eye on the content creators and influencers who are sort of going, okay, cool, I like that, but I'm going to do it slightly differently. So there's one that I feel like a lot of the students probably do follow, called the Inspired Unemployed.
I follow them too. They're great.
I know, and we love them because they totally understand their brand. They totally understand who it is that they're creating content for. They're so true to that and so authentic. But then what we're seeing from them is they're partnering with brands like Louis Vuitton and Fendi, which is just like, you just would never have heard of that previously until this sort of day, and that's just becoming common. And we just love it. We're like, yes, that is such a cool approach, like those kind of collaborations. We also love, there's a content creator called Benny Drama, who we are huge fans of in the agency, who has kind of done the whole astrology thing, but has taken a little bit of a unique approach to it, as well as sort of optimizing on the opportunities with other content creators and sort of tying that into his own content. We think he's really, really fun. And the last one that I wanted to touch on was Flex Mami. So our whole team loves her and follows her. And we like her because she kind of talks on like media and social issues, but in a way that she kind of takes her own personal opinion out of it. Like, she'll touch on it, but then she also opens the floor up to her followers and her audience. So I think it's a really interesting way to approach media and sort of updating on social issues via social media. So yeah, those are probably the top three at the moment.
And could you maybe tag them or link them in the comments of this on LinkedIn or Facebook? Because it's beaming out to Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter right now. So that would be great. Well, that sort of brings us to the end. Do you have any final words before we sign off?
No, I think that's everything. But yeah, thank you so much for having me on. It was really fun. And yeah, if there are any students who are watching this and you're thinking about a few different career options or anything, I'm definitely open to have a chat with you as well, especially obviously USC students. So yeah, like I said, I do coffee with students sometimes, or just flick a few emails back with a little bit of advice or guidance or anything. So not that I'm a guru, but yeah, more than happy to do that.
Oh, but thank you. You've got amazing experience then, and just very generous in sharing. So that is really a key to success, I think. So when you do that. And so we've had a couple of comments. So Anthony Roberto said, thank you very much for sharing your career insights and continued success for your future growth and development. And your advice is invaluable to industry entrants, startups, and seasoned business owners. So thanks, Anthony. And next week, yeah, that's lovely. And next week on Like, Share, Follow, we have Maddie Conlon. And Maddie's now a marketing assistant and community engagement manager at Promotion Products. So we'll chat to her then. So thank you so much, Bronte. You've shared so many knowledge bombs in this session. It's been really helpful. And I know a lot of students and well, even emerging or current business owners will take a lot away from what you've said.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much.
Thanks. See you next week.
See ya.